You know, I don't think I really managed to discuss just how much I fucking hate store exclusive figures this year. Recently saw a link on my Twitter feed saying that Ironhide and Prowl were back up on Amazon for their intended retail value, only to find out the thing sold out in about 2 seconds, so I went to the goddamn dark side of the internet and looked into third-party sellers, and they were selling their copies for $165 at their best offering. After nearly resisting the urge to yeet my laptop out the window and punch multiple holes in the drywall, I saw a link saying people also buy, followed by a link to Gigawatt for $20 friggin'. I swear to God I broke a speed record that day on ordering a new Transformer. Yes, I'll take most pathetic achievements for 800, Alex. I swear to God, this thing was one of the worst cases of scalping in Transformers history. Since the first wave apparently had a small difference that apparently made it a limited edition, the scalpers created this high-complexity algorithm of bullshit that bought the entire stock out in under 60 seconds, and within 15 minutes, go figure, they had them back up for sale on pre-order for the low price of $700? This was a figure I did not think I was going to get, because I hate baity crossover things from Transformers. They have a tendency to use intellectual properties to justify price inflation and give scalpers a market to screw over, but finding this thing for a price as low as I did was rare as hell, and I could not pass up the opportunity. Back to the Future was an iconic piece of 1980s intellectual property, and a kick-ass movie with an amazing score, super badass adventure vibes, and the best mad scientist trope of all time, period. And as a result, this thing invokes a pure sense of joy right out of the box. Speak of the devil, can we take a second to talk about the box? I paid $10 just to have this in and of itself. This artwork is simply gorgeous, from the iconic logos of Generation 1 packaging blending in extremely well with a Back to the Future logo, popping against a bright blue lightning and orange flames rushing out of the iconic vehicle mode from Back to the Future, and the retro Hasbro logo is a really nice touch. I love the picture of the bot mode with the flames underneath his feet and the Generation 1 text proudly displaying his name. The top of the box has a simplified 4-step demonstration of how the figure transforms, which is another G1 packaging throwback, along with this really dumb but awesome Easter egg, where one of the flats fold down like a garage door with a picture of the DeLorean on it. For Christ's sake, it even has G1 tech specs with a bio that they're just begging you to cut out. This may be the only box I ever keep because that thing's a display piece in and of itself. With that being said, how does the vehicle mode fare? Gigawatt transforms into a modified time-traveling 1982 DMC-12 DeLorean. This car mode comes with an absolute shit ton of accessories referencing the movie, from the wiring hook thing used to conduct electricity to get the damn thing working again, to the tiny Mr. Fusion accessory which refuses at all costs to dab into place. It pops off stupidly easily and it's extremely easy to lose. The DeLorean was actually a terrible car when it was out, because it was extremely heavy for the chassis, which made the thing a gas hog, and it had a god-awful engine along with a slew of other problems that couldn't keep up with the bullshit behind the car. So it only makes sense that some lunatic scientist would make it into a time machine in a 1980s movie. This thing might look basic in the detail department from a dead of the front look, but it actually has a ton of paint on it. I'm loving the black bumper and silver grille with the bright silver bordering on chrome painted headlights. For some stupid reason, the company logo wasn't put on there because I guess that would need to be licensed, but it's obviously a DeLorean. Wouldn't they just still need to license it? It doesn't make sense that they didn't have that detail on there, but the car mode does have a roll cage that was in the movie that's actually sculpted underneath the windscreen, so how's that for insane detail? The back of the car is oddly enough where this thing starts to shine in the paint department. Holy hell, even the tiny Mr. Fusion accessory has tamper-graphed, screen-accurate writing displayed with such clarity, and yet you would need a goddamn microscope to see it. The lightning conductor pegs in via a 3mm port, but mine came warped as all hell in the packaging. It's made of a pliable rubber-like plastic, and it doesn't really bother me that much, honestly. The thing was made of pliable material in the movie, so I can't really complain, and it could easily be fixed with a hairdryer or some kind of heat. Goddamn, even the side wiring of the vehicle mode's painted along with the gorgeous silver rims. The doors even open like the actual DeLorean does to reveal a nice pair of robot fists to sit on top of. Nice. Ready to have your mind blown? Turn the wheel sideways, prepare for at least one of the back tires to pop out, spend 20 minutes trying to fix the goddamn thing, and then you have a time-traveling flying DeLorean mode. Have I mentioned I really need a Bandai stand? One thing I'll say about the wheels and the system that they're attached to is that Even though they're nicely painted, the quality is absolutely dismal. The two wheels at the front are floppy as hell in either mode. The pegs put a ton of stress on the joint, and the back tires are always diagonal unless they have weight put on them. And despite this fact, it still rolls like an absolute dream for some stupid reason. But we aren't just here for a nostalgic car, so let's get on to his robot mode. This thing is actually quite the odd retool of Siege Sideswipe and shares a lot of similarities in the order of operations. There are a couple of steps that kind of suck, like the teeny shoulder flaps you have to rotate down in order for it to transform correctly, and the doors might pop off once or twice. But the real annoyance is getting the flux capacitor flipped upside down with basically no clearance at the head. At the end of it, boy oh boy do you get a really weird robot mode. I love dorky looking robot modes like this. As much as I like robots that are literally made of weapons, it's nice to have a dorky scientist added into the mix every now and then. The head sculpt is a blend of the two IPs he profiteers off of, like an absolute pimp daddy with the really cool Allspark glue goggled up eyes with his Marty McFly's fuck head sculpt, and check out the cool shit on his chest. He has a sculpted in flux capacitor, and even has a computer layout of all the times he traveled in the movie. The rest of the silhouette is just very bare and feels basically unpainted from the waist down, but for some dumb reason the back of the legs have a ton of extra detail. If you ask me, I think this is pretty cool. Like, it isn't going to be all fancy paint from all sides, he's just too many things in one, but it's nice seeing all sides having attention paid to them, even by accident. Proportionally, he's looking quite doofy, in all honesty. He has a chest that grew about 6 times too wide, but you know what I think? Who honestly cares? This guy's freaking sweet. The door wings on the back will be called kibble by some, but I call it a car that transforms into a robot and will leave hints of a car that happened to be there. I hate things that strive to be perfectly cartoon accurate and show as little vehicle mode parts as possible, no matter what it has to sacrifice to do so. Anyways, he comes with a cool little gun that can store under the car, and the little annoying Mr. Fusion piece can clamp onto it, only it actually stays on the damn thing this time. But how would he look posing with it? Only one way to find out. Head rotates, shoulders rotate and move out, bicep bend and rotation, waist rotation, universal hips, knee bend, and foot tilt. The articulation's kind of on the basic side of things, but isn't bad by any means. But with a body type like this, it's kind of hard to look super awesome doing any kung fu fighting poses. Like, is this white-ass doofus gonna do an Iron Man pose? No, but he can certainly check the time on his Mr. Fusion watch. His plastic balance is really damn solid, much like the Siege figure he retools, which makes animating with him fairly easy, but his thigh rotation causes him to flip backwards and it can be annoying for things like walk cycles, especially given the poor quality of the build materials. This thing feels in a lot of ways like it wants to fall apart. The first time I transformed the thing, the back tires, the doors, both the feet, and I think one other piece wound up popping off this stupid thing. They're pegged in via friction with some kind of a stopping point that's too tight and maladjusted, and the other order of operations has to be extremely meticulous to get things to work fluently. It's kind of annoying that on a more expensive figure they couldn't be bothered to add to the build quality of the thing, and I found it unintentionally when it was on sale with a slightly damaged box. If you're actively seeking one of these things out in perfect condition, you're going to have a really terrible time, and don't go beyond its market value because the outcome won't be worth it if you're spending double the retail value. The figure may be flawed, but it's still a really cool throwback and a unique character design that's a lot of fun to roll around like a Hot Wheels car in his vehicle mode. While the order of operations of the transformation and tactile feel of the transformation suffer, the sheer charm and the amazing amount of paint with all the meticulous fanservice details brings what would have been a disappointing 6 out of 10 up to an 8 out of 10. It definitely isn't going to be for everyone, but please don't spam the comments saying, and I quote,
"My copy didn't have that issue. Maybe you should stop being too rough, you goddamn idiot. You shouldn't be allowed in the fanbase. KDFN GFR KJGHNFMD KDJFHGFNMDFJAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA
but in all honesty, I don't know where the hell this channel's going anymore.